All right, so we got our next VintCo Vintage racer here. We're at Glen Helen, and with Don, who's built quite a few vintage bikes, but this one right here is a 1980 CR125. Tell us a little bit about this bike and kind of how much time maybe you have into restoring it, but it's also not just a showpiece, it's actually ridden and raced.
Correct. This bike was done everything, main bearing seals, crank, 100% new motor, done completely start to finish, replated hardware, everything. So I built it many years ago for my nephew, and he never really got into it, so we pulled it out for my buddy Robert to ride today. So this bike's completely sorted out, 100% done. So
I would like friends that would loan me a bike to race one time, so that's kind of cool that you can do that.
Well, we like to. It's such a fun sport, and anybody that we can get to come out always enjoys it. I'm yet to have anybody that didn't come and race a vintage bike and not have fun.
Yeah, you kind of have to, I think. And so, was there anything that was a stumbling block or anything when you were doing this that maybe held you up a little bit more than you maybe thought?
Some of on the early 125 Hondas, getting a rod is a problem. So sometimes those can be a challenge, and you end up having to have some special done because the crank pin has to be moved to a bigger size. So other than that, I've been pretty fortunate at being able to find parts. But what I do with like this particular bike, I have 3 extra motors and I have a whole nother chassis. I could build a whole nother bike out of parts, which is just a habit of just buying a parts bike anytime it came up for a good price. Because as you know, if you need second gear for a 1980 CR125, you're not going to the Honda dealer to get it.
Exactly. So I noticed the cases are painted. Is that painted or powder coated? What do you do on those?
Those are powder coated.
They look really nice. And then, is this the stock swing arm?
It is, and in fact, I have a really nice swing arm for it that hasn't made it onto it yet. But yes, it's a stock swing arm.
They looked really trick then. I kind of assumed it was aftermarket, but they looked really trick in that time frame.
Yeah, I think they were trying to make them better, but by this point, all the Suzuki's already had aluminum swing arms, so Honda was already a little bit behind on that.
Well, they came past that later and leapfrogged everybody a little bit later. Yeah. Really cool bike, and it's cool that you're able to have this thing out being raced. What do you think you have into it as far as time-wise in working on this thing to get it to this kind of point?
Well, it gets spread out because you start on it, and then it's not always easy to find somebody to do your motor on these bikes, so you end up, it sits at the motor guy's shop for a while. So, in reality, if you did it start to finish, you could probably do one in 40, 80 hours, but it never works that way because everything is a struggle. You get to a certain point, and then you're waiting for a certain thing. And like this particular bike, what I did was I was always on the hunt for parts. So like trying to find the DG head, it wasn't there originally. Found it on eBay, and the pipe. The guy that I don't even remember who made that pipe. The silencer. I don't even think that guy's around anymore. So it's always a struggle of finding parts, and that's probably the longest thing. Is if you don't have everything when you start it, you get to a point, you sit, and then you start over again when you collect some more parts.
Well, it's a good-looking bike. That pipe and silencer is gorgeous-looking. So great-looking bike, and I'm glad that you're able to share it with us today.
Thank you. We appreciate the support of the sport.
See you guys later.